kick off the start of your week, this is the Monday Show with Stella and Cam. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this Smart Entrepreneurs podcast. This is the Monday Show with myself, Cam H. Lynch.
And Stella Hugh.
And we are here with our very first show after a sizable hiatus. We originally had a show, and you'll notice a little name change there if you ever listened to the previous show as well. And we're relaunching, and off the back of this, to kick that off, very apropos of the status and everything like that, the show's title today is Why Perfectionism is the Killer of Progress, because we're a pair of filthy perfectionists, aren't we, Stella?
Yes. Me more so, because I'm the one that stops any sort of progress, I think, in anything that we do.
Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, like the example right there, we had a podcast, we had a website, we had a name, everything was going fine. We had content, we even had views.
We had people visiting the site.
Yeah, they contacted us. They wanted to write for our site as well.
Unprompted as well. We didn't say anything. We didn't say anything out. Yeah.
So obviously there was something good going there. So why the hell did we stop what we were doing and decide to change the name and change everything?
Yes.
You know, basically delete all of our old content and start afresh.
Yes.
Because we are perfectionists.
If it ain't broke, fix it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that wasn't entirely the reason why, but, you know, a big part of it is that we thought, you know, we can do better, so why not do better?
Yes, absolutely.
But as you'll find out today, it does kill progress.
Yes.
You know, and some things don't need to be that perfect.
Absolutely. And if you're listening, you can be safe in the knowledge that this, of course, is the most perfect version of what we can deliver to you, because we have since killed the previous one. So, yes.
This is our fifth try.
Yeah. Shush. I thought we were keeping that offline. Just so you know, this podcast is designed for, the whole site and everything is designed for entrepreneurs and business owners, people looking to leave the 9-to-5 and start it out on their own. And it's a resource we're hoping to grow and help millions upon millions and millions of people, which we hope that we can, because we have both done it from ourselves. We both come from a corporate finance background in different sectors, and now we basically live the life we want to live, running our own business, doing our own things, a lot of it predominantly online, some of it in the real world in bricks and mortar businesses. So we've got that good, I think, double-edged sort of information, I think.
Yeah.
And we're here to help 100%. So we've got some, obviously found this hopefully from the site. And if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them our way. But we'll have some of that contact information at the end of the show. So moving on to the topic at hand, with the perfect throw to Stella, which she perfectly picked up and perfectly ran through. So it's a process.
Oh my God, let's go again.
No. I'm not wasting this 3.5 minutes we've already racked up on the show. Why perfectionism is the killer of progress. So this is something, and if you're a perfectionist or if you know someone who's a perfectionist, a lot of these things will ring true to you, either yourself or to the people you know. And this is why we're here to sort of examine why. Well, I think Stella said it best in one of her points there that she's probably going to wrap up with. But there are a lot of different things or reasons why people find that, especially when they're starting their own business or launching something, anything where they're sort of putting themselves out there with their own work or their own product, they want it to be the very best it can be. But sometimes that can be detrimental to the end result and sort of have diminishing returns. And on today's show, we're going to examine these points and also what we, in both of our experience, what we've felt ourselves and how we can overcome them and move towards something better, i.e. producing something essentially.
Results.
Yes, precisely. Yeah. So Stella, if you'd like to talk to us about basically your you being a perfectionist and how it's sort of affected your life and how you've been able to create things and how you've identified that and sort of any sort of steps you've taken to sort of mitigate it or sort of work with it or anything like that.
Okay. So for myself, I probably for most of my life, I've been a perfectionist without realizing I was a perfectionist. And it wasn't until maybe the last year or so, year and a half, that I've actually realized that there is a lot of crap out there that people release and they do perfectly fine.
Oh, yes.
Nobody picks up on it. Nobody's calling them out. I mean, I'm picking up on it because I'm looking at them going, why did you spell that word wrong?
Yep.
There should be an apostrophe there.
Yep.
But do they care? Do their audiences care?
Nope.
No. They're still out there and they are making money. They're making progress, and that is just what I read that, had spelling mistakes was probably one of hundreds and hundreds of articles that they've released, because they're getting things done.
Absolutely. So the ends justify the means, essentially. They are still helping an audience and servicing an audience. And I think if you are being passionate about what you do or helping an audience, they can overlook these little quirks and problems. But from the outside person looking in and wanting to replicate what they do, I'm the exact same boat. It drives me up the wall. And especially now, I don't know who's adopted this, but I've seen it more and more these days. Pluralizations with apostrophes.
Yes.
So, like if it's like bananas, just with an S on the end, we'll throw an apostrophe in there. What? Why? Stop that!
And then when they do need to put one in, they don't.
Because they used it up in the pluralization. There's only a finite. It's like helium. There's only a finite amount of apostrophes. So, so you identified this and then. After that, what was your sort of clicking point? Was it sort of there you could sort of go, well, they're still servicing an audience, they're still doing well, despite their flaws?
Well, then obviously you start looking at what these people are doing. Why is it that they're able to come out with content that, aren't perfect, but they're still getting by? And then you realize that perfection is not important.
Absolutely.
Perfection doesn't exist. And one thing I've noticed about being a perfectionist is that it really kills your passion. Sometimes the best work that you can create is the very first one that you create.
Absolutely.
Because that's the one that's the most raw. It comes straight from the heart. It's true to yourself. And that's usually what your audiences love to read. And they love to hear about you.
Absolutely.
But as soon as you start editing and you start going through the process of being a perfectionist, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, starting to think, oh no, can I put this sentence here? Will people get offended? Am I being funny enough? Am I not being funny at all? What should I put there? Is that the right sentence? Is that the right word? Blah, blah, blah. By the time you finish editing, you probably have something that's completely perfect. Punctuation, grammar, spelling, everything is perfect, but it's no longer you. And it no longer has the heart that it originally had.
Absolutely.
And then if you want to release it, or chances are you won't release it because you look at it and you'll be like, well, this is crap. This isn't me. I can't release this to the public. It really kills your passion for whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think what Stella's something that we should really confirm here is that when we say perfectionist is like, we understand that when you kick out your first version of X or whatever you're talking about, your blog or online course or whatever you're doing, we expect punctuation and grammar and things like that. That's just the what you should do when you do good business. But when you once you've sorted all that out and then you start boiling down to like, well, is this word good enough for what I'm trying to say? And like you said with that, should I put it in this sentence or is that going to offend a couple of people in some small group or whatever? That's when you start going, okay, now my perfectionism, like me doing a good job is done, it's there, but now I'm kind of over analyzing and overthinking things, and this is now to the detriment of my end product. And that's exactly what Stella's saying. And then it does bum you out because then you sort of go, well, I had this great idea and this great product or this great blog or article I want to deliver to my audience, but now I'm like, it's like a weird gestalt entity of what it previously was because you've hacked it up and it's lost its true impact. And I think that's the big key that I think a lot of people miss out on when they are perfectionists, and they then release something that what spurred them to create it in the first place is now gone. It's not there anymore. So and that could really be a massive buzzkill. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And plus it wastes a lot of your time. The amount of times that I have written something, got to about 90%, and then went, oh no, this is not perfect. I need to do more research. I need to do this. I need to add this. I need to take that away. And then it becomes all too hard.
Absolutely.
And then 3 hours I spent on this thing that I'm doing, I no longer use, I no longer want to use. The act of going back and editing and making it perfect just seems too hard.
Yep.
So I just drop it and then I don't get it done.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, that point pretty much dovetails into my first 2 points, which is basically it makes you stand still. You're not creating anything, and that's the worst thing. I mean, you're creating stuff for yourself, but you're not delivering anything to your audience. You're not helping anyone. Whatever your goal is, you're not helping anyone. You're not increasing sales. You're not boosting growth. You're not boosting traffic. Whatever your main goal was to set out when you're creating stuff. And the other thing is, it doesn't actually create anything worthwhile holding off on. So what I mean by that is all the tiny changes you make before you release your work to the world doesn't proportionally improve the product. So what I'm saying is if you spend an extra 3 or 4 days click quote unquote improving your article and then release to the world, it doesn't translate as 3 or 4 days worth of extra work on this article. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Same word count, same like jargon, same points you're proving, same message, but you've just delivered it slightly. You put a bow on it instead. So you unwrap the present, but it's taking you 4 days to put a bow on there, and it's exactly the same gift underneath it, and it's an enormous waste of time essentially.
Yeah, and that leads me to one of my points actually, that good enough is good enough. You know, like there's so many times where you look at an article and you're like, oh yeah, is it good enough? It can be better. Yeah, it can, but is spending an extra 3 hours on it and making that, 2% better, is that going to make that much of a difference?
Precisely. And also, here's a question to beg yourself, Stella, and the listeners out there. Who's 2%?
Yes,
your 2%,
exactly.
your audience is 2%.
Exactly.
What you value as far as writing format, syntax, and all that sort of stuff is concerned, your audience may not necessarily value as much as you do. You might think, oh yeah, this needs another joke in there. No, it's fine. Like if your audience doesn't value humor in your writing that much, but you do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you just happen to be gifted at, delivering value in another writing form. There's no guarantee that that's going to translate over. So you might agonize over this one joke. It's like, maybe I should use maybe I should use a chicken instead of a monkey in the metaphor or whatever, and then you throw it out there and no one comments on it. Like, isn't that joke great? And you're expecting all the comments to go, oh, hilarious, and it's just like, well, no one cared, and it gets no shares, and all that work was for nothing. When you could have kicked it out in its raw format, it would have been just as good, and you would have made a lot more progress in the time it took to actually get it out there. So
yeah, and I think and it comes down to the 80-20 rule. And that's like, you don't want to spend 80% of your time working on that 20% of results.
No.
And most of us do. And
Absolutely.
it's so frustrating. I do it myself as well. Like you think what's important isn't actually that important.
No, precisely.
It's actually wasting your time. You only achieve that little bit more of a result, but how many hours did you spend on it extra?
Precisely. Yeah. And it is, I hate to say it because this definitely gets a negative sort of connotation. I think it is catering a little to your own ego as well, because you're like, well, I can't possibly put this out there if it's not good enough. Like, if I don't think it's good enough for my audience sort of thing, you're like, but I'm delivering to my audience. It's like, yeah, but I'm sure they don't care either way. I'm sure they love your content and that's why they follow you. Therefore, as long as you put something out there that's going to help them, they're not going to mind that much. And then it's like, well, I wouldn't dare put my name on anything that was anything less. Sort of, people kind of get in their own head about it.
It could be more of a, like for me, especially back in the day,
last week.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, it was more of a confidence thing. A lot of the times when you are putting a piece of yourself out there, you're putting your opinions, you're putting in, your experiences. Sometimes you just think, oh, well, I can't say this because people are going to get angry, or I can't say this because people won't care.
Yep.
You're just not confident enough to just put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the people who don't care, the people who get angry, what you're writing is not for them.
No.
You have to think about the people you are writing it for, who are people like yourselves, who you're trying to help, who will resonate with the information that you're putting out there and your experiences, and they'll really appreciate you being honest.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's going to be things, as long as you're creating anything online, there's going to be a group of people who are going to be upset or dissatisfied with what you create, no matter how maligned, no matter how sort of milquetoast or middle level or non-offensive it is, someone's going to get really annoyed. Like we've put why perfectionism is the killer of progress, and someone might have, take exception for us using the word killer in there. It's like,
or progress.
Yeah, or progress. How dare you use progress? Like someone's going to be annoyed. But you know what? They, again, like Stella said, they're not in your audience. You're not really writing to serve them. They're just people who like to waste time online and kick up a fuss and stuff like that. We actually have a podcast coming up about the roadblocks that will stop you from achieving online success, where we're going to be talking about the mental roadblocks, and that's one of the things we'll be addressing. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to that. For me also, for holding off and being a perfectionist, and it's more in the line of not delivering your work earlier, is that it doesn't help anyone. And I think I've mentioned this in the show a couple times already, but each hour or day, week or month you hold off showing your work, it doesn't help or benefit anybody. If anything, it would be considered an act of selfishness. This is along line with what I was saying about ego. And if you'd like to learn, if you're listening, you'd like to learn more about the idea of showing your work, I can highly recommend you check out Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. And it's about why generosity trumps genius. It's a New York Times bestseller, and you can find the link in our show notes as well. Fantastic book, but it does get you sort of over the idea of hiding is cowardice, and no one learns anything from that. That's why it's important to show what you have as soon as you can when it's in a format that's acceptable. And this is, of course, not going with things, say, like if you're writing a movie or a book or like a song or something like that, and something that's going to last generations and generations. Yeah, we're saying put time and effort into it, but don't agonize over the tiny little details that really aren't going to make a huge difference for a vast audience. And especially when you're creating content, so like articles, blogs, podcasts, whatever, definitely don't waste too much time on that, because make them polished, make them nice, make them flow well, but don't waste too much time on them, because again, you could be better off doing something else for sure.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting concept actually, because like recently I was reading that book, The Magic Art of Tidying. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
The Magic Art of Tidying.
Yeah.
It's a very popular book.
Yeah.
And I'm very horrible with book names, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're not perfect when it comes to book names.
It will be in the show notes, the actual name. Yeah,
it's by Dr. Seuss, yeah.
No. But basically, the book is about tidying and how to declutter your life, so that you can focus more on things that are important.
Do they mean this in a metaphysical way, or they mean actually physically tidying your life?
Physically
like
tidying
up your house.
Yeah, roll up your socks, that sort of thing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, but the reason why I thought of that book is just the way that book that you just mentioned.
Show Your Work.
Yeah, Show Your Work. It's talking about how to view things in a different light. And that's what this book is about as well. So in a way, so what the concept is instead of thinking of it as, oh no, people are going to judge me, people are going to, if I put my work out there, I'm going to get haters, I'm going to get negative feedback and all that stuff.
Yep.
Change your way of thinking and think about the people you're helping and what a disservice you're doing to them by not releasing that information out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that actually helps, changing that mindset and just thinking not about the negative things, but about the positive things you'd bring if you released it earlier.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, we've got another podcast coming up, if it hasn't been released already, about how to handle negative criticism or basically negative comments towards your business or your product or anything. So again, if you subscribe, you'll make sure you're in tune with that as well. Final thoughts. For me, perfection is unobtainable. As people and your tastes are always changing by the minute, essentially. And if you think that's not true, if you're listening and go, well, no, of course, perfection is attainable. If you disagree, then please, I kindly ask you, go back and find some story or article or design or song or whatever you created years ago and thought that was perfect at the time. Is it still perfect now? Probably not. And if it is, precisely, that's the reaction it commonly elicits. But if it is perfect, by your standards at least, kudos to you. You're probably a multi-billionaire by now.
I am jealous.
But if it isn't, was it worth all the extra sweating and worrying and toil and tears? Probably not. So my message is focus on the big picture or the big picture goal of your work. So if it's helping others, yes, and you read this article and you go, will this help my audience? Yes, send it out. Is it going to grow my network? Yes, send it out. Is it going to make sales? Whatever it is, will it achieve that goal to the best of my ability given the context or the content that it is in, yes, send it out. And make those tweaks as you need to. So once it's sent out, and then basically you can revisit the topic. You can go, hey, there's some things I missed out last time. I felt I should add it on, or an addendum, or a part 2, making an anthology series of whatever content, blogs, podcasts, whatever. People love that sort of stuff because then there's a progression through there. They follow the journey with you. But don't deny the world your work a day longer than you have to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I completely agree. And I mean, for me, I just think perfectionism is unattainable. Even those who say that it is, I'm sure there is something in there that...
Even though I'm sitting right here.
Yeah.
Right here, right next to you.
You're close to perfect.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
But everybody has flaws. You know, even the people that you think, you put on a pedestal that you see every day and you want to strive to be, they have their flaws.
Yes.
And you know what? Chances are it's because of their flaws. That's why you love them so much.
Absolutely.
That's why you think so highly of them. Maybe it is because of the way they write their emails in such a quirky way, or it's because they swear, or it's because they always have all these terrible spellings and net speaks and whatever in the articles. That's what makes you cling on to them so much, you know. So
why do you think Donald Trump is rising in the polls? Why do you think people still like Charlie Sheen? Massively flawed individuals, still really popular.
But yeah, embrace your flaws.
Yes.
Don't strive for perfectionism.
No.
Just strive to help people. Strive for your goal.
Yes.
Which should not be perfectionism.
No, but at the same merit, you should still hold your work up to a certain standard and then be the best you can be. Absolutely. Yes. Fantastic stuff. We hope you have found this session enlightening, and we would love to hear from you if you are a perfectionist and are struggling with your perfection, and if it's compromising your goals or your progress. Please write in, and we'll give you some information in that now. You can actually subscribe to our podcast, as I mentioned before, via iTunes or Stitcher Radio, and please leave a 5-star review and share the show with a friend you think might enjoy it.
Yes, we drop a new show 5 days a week. They are not going to be perfect, but they're going to be...
We can guarantee that.
They're going to be the best that we can do it.
Absolutely.
Yes, at this point in time. Yes.
And if you'd like to see what's coming up in the schedule, you can go to Smart Entrepreneurs Labs. Not perfect. smartentrepreneurlab.com/podcast or Smart eLabs for an easier one /podcasts. And you can check that out and see what's coming up. And when you're visiting the site, you can also see where we're hanging out on social media. Or if you'd like to chat with us a little more intimately, you can drop us a line at info@smartentrepreneurslab.com. And that's where you need to go. Thank you once again for listening and for your time. But until next time, I'm Cam H. Lynch.
And I'm Stella Hu, telling you to always work smarter, not harder. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.